Hey there, it's Jill Blanchette. I'm here to show you my first alternate to the Daisy Daydream paper pumpkin kit that we got for March. I'm going to make this card for you, and it is going to use one of the 3-part daisy pieces and half of one of the cards, the blue cards. So we're going to have an 8.5 by 5.5 inch piece of Lost Lagoon. Go ahead and score it at 4.25, or just fold it in half and burnish on that real well. I'm going to go ahead and glue this piece onto the front. That is cut at 5.25 by 4. I'm going to go ahead and glue that onto the front. Like this. Then I have another piece of Lost Lagoon that is 3 5/8 by 4 7/8, and I just want that to be a little bit smaller so that it leaves a little bit larger border around the outside. We're going to take a blending brush, got my silicone mat out, and I've got a circle. You could use the circle that goes with this card possibly. I didn't try it. I don't know how big it is. I just cut this one out myself, and it's about a 2 3/4 inch circle. And I'm just going to set that on the front, and I'm going to take my basic beige and a blending brush, and I'm just going to blend all around on the paper. Just want to give it a different look. If you have white, you could also try white. That would look real pretty. But I'm just want to give a little different, I'm going to call it texture look to the Lost Lagoon page portion. And again, like I said, a white would probably look really nice on here as well to go with the daisies. But see, we just want to give it a different look of its own. Another, let's see if I can get that a little bit darker right there. And so that's it. That's all you need to do for that look. Then I'm going to take, I've got one of our old sets. I didn't want to deviate from Paper Pumpkin because you're more apt to have a Paper Pumpkin old stamp set than something random that I choose from my stash. So I got, does it tell? It doesn't tell us what date it was. It was a Father's Day. It might have been last year. Probably should start writing that on my papers just so I know. And I am going to use the little, probably leaves, tree, earth, that little piece anyway. We're going to use that in some Lost Lagoon, and we're just going to stamp around in no way, shape, or form, you know, my random, strategically randomness. We're just going to fill up the image in different places. Like that. And we're going to call that good. Let me get a little bit more over here. Again, strategically random. All right, so we call that good. We've got our little dots on there. Then we are going to take a Versamark, and you can just stamp this down if you want in whatever ink. You don't have to do heat embossing, but that's what I'm going to do just to give you a little different look. I'm going to use my, use your embossing buddy and get that down in the space to help the embossing powder not stick where you don't want it. Did that make sense? To not stick where you don't want it. Yeah. So I'm just going to stamp my words in here in Versamark. And then I'm going to come through with some clear embossing powder. You could also use white. White would look very nice. And I'm just going to pour it on the top there so that we make sure we got a good coverage. And I'll tap it back into my jar. And I do have it in some spots that I don't want it. Excuse me. And that is partially because of all the extra, what do we want to call that? I just wiped that off. The blending brush makes the paper wet, tackier. So the powder does want to stick there, but you get your little, like a little paintbrush. And then you could just wipe it off. My paintbrush is over at the other counter, so I'm just going to use my finger. And then we're just going to heat that. And you can see that it looks wet now as it heats. It melts it from the heat. I'm going to go ahead and glue that to the front. And we can, after it dries a little bit, we can take like a Kleenex and just buff it off, and you'll get that extra like embossing buddy stuff off, the powder, the talc, whatever the heck's in that. So we'll glue this guy to the front. Make sure our border looks pretty even all the way around. Like so. I might need to put a little bit more glue in there. And then I've just taken the daisies and I've looked for like a good spot. I just cut the greenery off. So I just looked for a good cutting point and cut the greenery off so that we can layer them. And I think, I'm trying to remember how I cut this one. I think I just cut that and then I cut up here. So now we got this guy. So then when I layer them, you know, the greenery is going to be in different spots. So it will help it look a little more layered. And then we're going to cut this piece off all the way. And then this last one I'm going to cut off up here. And then we can utilize this greenery. So it's now just going to be a matter of laying them down and then just figuring out how we want them on here. So, and then I'll pop them up as well. We'll have a, okay, so this guy I must have cut this greenery off this and put it behind. So let me cut this off real quick as I'm looking at I just must have had this flower separate. So, and then I'm gonna glue them down. And so rather than sit here and fuss with it while I'm filming, I will pause and align them up, and then I'll come back and show you what I did. Okay. So I layered those around, And then for the inside, I just put a white piece that is 5 1/4 by 4. And then if you want to stamp some words on it, stamp those before you glue it down. And I don't believe I stamped anything on the inside. Oh, I did. I took my flower spray from the kit and I just stamped it in Lost Lagoon, but I stamped off first just to not be quite so dark. So I got a piece of paper, just stamp off. I think it actually goes this way. And then I stamped it the second time on the inside. So that's it for our first card. My alternate to use with the spray of flowers from this one, you'll still have an extra one because this card uses 2, and I did not use a bee, so you'll still have some pieces there. And I'll be back in a little bit with my next card. Thanks for watching.